Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Timmy. So in this video I'm going to be talking about why I believe that all men are on the spectrum of narcissism. Disclaimer, this is not me trying to be insulting or disrespectful or being bitter or being angry like they would call us all the time. It has nothing to do with this is just a genuine something. So I actually saw an analogy where I'm going to be taking inspiration from that analogy because it helped me to be able to put this in words properly. I saw the analogy from YV Edits. Do ensure to check her out if you are interested. Her handle, I think she's on YouTube and TikTok as well. Her handle is YV Edits. So all men are on the spectrum of narcissism, and what she did is to draw a line, and it is that line that I'm using to take inspiration, right? Mind you, there is a difference between a person with narcissistic personality disorder and somebody with narcissistic traits. I do believe that every human being has narcissistic tendencies, but for it to be full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, that is a diagnosable condition. You would need diagnosis to say the person is narcissistic or the person has narcissistic personality disorder. That is a mental disorder. So for us to talk about this, I think we'll need to dive into the definition of narcissism, right? It is an intense level of selfishness and self-absorption. So another definition says a self-centered style characterized by an exaggerated sense of self-importance, a tendency to overvalue accomplishments, and an exhibitionistic need for attention and admiration. So usually if you look at that definition, you would know that almost everybody has some level of selfishness, and sometimes it is very common for it to get over people and become excessive, right? So that is when we say a person has narcissistic traits. And I feel like in every individual at some point you can look at them and say they have the trait. Now there is a difference between the tendencies, the trait, and having the disorder. So when they say the trait, it's like you're just seeing one or two of those characteristics in a person. Then when you say the tendencies, is that the person looks like somebody who can possess those traits. Then when we say the person has a narcissistic personality disorder, this is where it has gotten far on the spectrum. So at this stage, it is a mental health condition that involves an unreasonable high sense of self-importance and excessive need for attention and admiration, and a lack of empathy. So when it is backed with lack of empathy, I think that is where it becomes not just a trait, but it becomes a mental health issue, right? Because empathy is a basic human decency, is a basic human attribute. So when the person now lacks it totally, it is getting to a point where it's troubling. There are several types of narcissism I don't want us to talk about, because I'm not necessarily teaching about narcissism, because that's something that you can read about, right? But there are several types. So there are like covert and overt. So what I want to focus on today is that I genuinely believe that all men are on the spectrum of narcissism, right? So it just depends on how far that they go, how far they get into it. Now this is not some form of a scientific this thing is just me looking at my environment and deducing my conclusions. So this is not a proven research or anything like that. It is my personal research. So I mean, but at the end of the day, I find it very helpful for women, and if you understand this, it makes you have less interest on having pressured to be with a man, or also it helps you to self-preserve, and also it helps you to know how to deal with men generally, and certain things that the society shames women for, you would not have a reason to be ashamed of those reasons. For instance, things like divorce. If you understand that all men are on the spectrum of narcissism, I mean, you shouldn't be embarrassed if you divorce a narcissist. Things like being a single parent, things like being, all those things that men would typically shame women for, those stereotypes, you would not feel ashamed anymore. So I feel like that is why I find it helpful and why I'm making the video help. So consider the spectrum of narcissism as a straight line like this. So this is the spectrum of narcissism, right? Oh, I'm going to need to turn this, I don't know, because when I was writing it, I mean, this was the right side on my, this was supposed to be my right side, but that's okay. We'll still work with it, right? So this is the middle point of the line. And then somewhere here is the start point of the line of being on the spectrum. So if you see this arrow is facing down, and these are women. This is where women start from. So this woman represents all other women. So bear that in mind, right? So this is the spectrum of narcissism. This is the line going forward. This is normalcy. If you see what I wrote here, I said normalcy. This is where normalcy starts, when somebody does not have the traits, it does not have the personality disorder. But this is where narcissistic personality disorder is. This is the extreme end of narcissistic personality disorder, right? So anybody at this point is somebody who has the disorder. Then here is narcissistic personality traits. So this is narcissistic traits, and this here is traits. So anywhere from here is tendencies. Then when it gets here is traits. Then when it gets here, this is the disorder. I just hope this helps you to understand. Now, women are born somewhere around here. When a girl child is born, she's born into normalcy, and I put this line facing down because of subjugation. So she's born beneath the spectrum, right? So this also, let's consider this also a ladder of power as well. So she is born below the spectrum, below the ladder of power. So here is where normalcy begins. So when a girl child is born and is being socialized, socialization, depending on how she receives socialization and other factors that can affect her living around normalcy, she begins to come up to this point where she has the tendencies to be narcissistic, right? So here she has tendencies of narcissism. That does not mean she already have the traits. She has the tendency. So the more she's socialized to look at men, to center men, to groom men, to serve men and everything, she's going to learn a little bit, because you're moving. Now, secondly, this middle point is where men are born. So they are born on the spectrum around here. From when they are pregnant with a boy, they begin to emphasize his relevance above a woman. That is why I put the woman somewhere around normalcy and beneath the spectrum. But for a man, he's born somewhere in the middle. And as he is here somewhere in the middle, he is facing this side of narcissism. So the socialization of a man is socialized towards this side. They give birth to him here because even from birth, they already emphasize that he is a male child. He's considered a superior child to the female child. So that is a level, they already place him above another human being. So that is a level of subjugation. So you are superior and you have privileges, you're born with privileges, that makes you superior to somebody. So that automatically puts you on the spectrum of narcissism, and it puts you far in the middle, right? So there's a difference between selfishness, moving from here, selfishness, moving from how to center yourself, and selfishness. You've moved beyond selfishness to having the traits. So by just being born a man alone, you can have the traits. That is why men are here. And don't forget, they are facing where the narcissistic personality disorder is. Now, what socialization does to men is to move them, instead of moving them to normalcy, it moves them towards this side of the line, moving towards the disorder. This is where, from maybe when a child is born, the mother begins to say, oh, my husband, you are the head of the family. It's like you're superior to a female child. When a female child is asked to do dishes and clean the house and do things, do chores, A man, on the other hand, they're emphasizing his relevance to him, so he does not have to do any domestic labor. So he's moving to this side because that emphasizes him being above a female child. While women are doing chores, a man is busy playing ball and not building self. A man is not building himself, he's not building character, he's not building good relationship. While women are building good relationships, a man is building shallow relationships, and they are teaching men how to compete with each other. While women are taught how to be a community, how to help each other. During things like weddings, you have bridesmaids come together to clean houses, do chores, and help the woman pretty much prepare. A man is being taught how to get more women, make money by means of duping, cheating, or taking advantage of people. While men are being also taught how, like young boys are taught how to use girls in school, right? How to outsmart girls, how to pretty much teaching them how to not be women. So everything surrounding women is considered shameful for men. So whatever it is they teach men and socialize men is just how to not be women. So while women are being taught how to have this community and build certain characters for the sake of the men that they are going to marry, they are busy teaching men. They are not teaching men how to build character for women. They are teaching men how to build character to be powerful and be influential and be self-centered and oppress and suppress people and cheat people and do all those things to people. So men are socialized to move towards this end of the spectrum, while women are not even socialized to climb on the spectrum to begin with. But because of socialization and oppression and subjugation, and they have to So while it is a thing of pride for a man to be on the spectrum, make money by any means, dubious means, most money that men make is by either bringing one person down or by seizing opportunities and that are not necessarily ethical. While men are socialized that these things are normal, women on the other hand are not socialized to even climb on this spectrum at all. Men are men are socialized to be on this spectrum. Women are shamed for even coming close to this spectrum. So this spectrum, don't forget, it is selfishness, right? Women are socialized to be selfless and to serve the people on this spectrum and the people beneath where women are, children. They are also socialized to birth children, care for children, and serve men and serve children. Nothing about themselves is considered so, right? So that's why I call where women are the spectrum of normalcy, if there's anything like that. So women who get on this spectrum are women who have encountered men, maybe in school, in the society, childhood playgrounds or things like that, which women are not even allowed to be around men from childhood, like playing with men or anything. But that aside, women interacting with men is what brings them on top of this spectrum. So women learn selfishness from men, so they climb on this spectrum. Now, no matter how hard a woman is on this spectrum, right, it never gets as bad as that of a man. So even when they tell you that a woman has narcissistic personality disorder, usually her behavior is somewhere around here, or at most coming around somewhere here, but it is hardly on this end. And the reason is because of the patriarchy. So men have the privilege of getting here, but a woman does not have the privileges a man has within the society. So it is almost impossible for a woman to get here. At most, the woman is somewhere around here, but she never gets here. If a woman even gets close to here or around here, it is even bad enough. So some of your mothers and your sisters, or the women who they tell you that have narcissistic personality disorder, I'm telling you, they are somewhere around here. Those full-blown narcissists that they say female narcissists, I'm telling you, they are somewhere around here. I know that psychologists will not agree with this, but they are somewhere around here. They don't usually get here, right? So the socialization of men is different. Now, for a man to now say he is feminist, or he's, even if he's not necessarily feminist, for him to now say he does not want to be on this spectrum of selfishness, where men get self-aware and they don't want, mind you, this sport is even reserved for younger men, small children that are not yet, they've not really been socialized that much, they've not really interacted with society, because the more interaction a man has with society, the worse he becomes. So this is even a space where men who have not interacted with society, so it is difficult to find an adult male around here. So an adult male who is normal will be somewhere around here, right? Somewhere in the middle of this, from this middle to this end. An adult male who is normal, right, will be somewhere around here. So, but any man who actually acknowledges that a man is superior to a woman in any form, whether in marriage, whether in the society, at any stage you believe that men are not equal to women, you are somewhere after here even. So the person has passed this level. So what that means, so let's give this level here, right? So they are closer to having the personality disorder, because it must take some form of grandiosity for you to believe that you are superior to another person for simply being born male, right? Now, for a man to say he is feminist or he is progressive and has evolved and is fighting equality, or even if he's not fighting, he wants to do the inner work, why relating with men is dangerous, here it comes, is the fact that imagine being somewhere around here. And don't forget that selfishness is sweet. Oh, it has privileges when you are the selfish one and you're not the one being oppressed, you're the one that is oppressing other people. So what that means is that you are intentionally moving backwards on this spectrum. So you want to return to normalcy. Now, don't forget that a man not having privileges makes his life easier. So you denying your privilege is making your life more difficult. So a man reversing here is actually a painful process, because imagine when men are getting married and they have a woman who cooks and cleans for them. You, on the other hand, you're doing your cooking, you're doing your cleaning, you're even cleaning after a woman, right? It is shameful when other men see it, they shame you. That is, aside from the pain of doing those things yourself, you are being shamed by other men. So it makes it even difficult for men to reverse. But if you even are a person who does not care and you keep moving backwards as a man, then there comes the, because those things, a human being should be cleaning after themselves, right? So let's assume you now marry a feminist woman, or a woman who is not male-centered, and she's like, all those things you're doing is not, you're cleaning after yourself, I should not be appreciating you for cleaning after yourself. So the person who, most of the time, men, when they do that thing, when they go through that process that they term painful, they think they are doing it for the woman who they married. So they expect her to be thankful. Now, when she's not thankful and she's like, that's the bare minimum, you're doing it for yourself, they become resentful and they want to go back here. So that's why you will hear men say, women, you cannot do anything nice for them. They are usually not appreciative. That is because when they do those normal things that women would do for themselves and do for others and not expect others to say thank you, a man will do those things for himself and expect gratitude. Why? Because he's born on the spectrum, right? So that is why it is difficult for men to reverse. At best, that a man has put in a lot of work to do in himself, if he reverses, he comes somewhere here. A man never ever gets back to this point where they believe that, at least not any man that is in existence now, they will never get to this their starting point of being children. So the way a child would socialize, a male child would socialize with another female child, and he's happy, he does not see the difference in himself and her, a man never gets to that point where because even at this point, a child does not necessarily think he's not equal to a woman at this point, right? So a male child would not necessarily think so because his brain has not yet developed. But for you to go through socialization and brain development as a man and come back to this point with a developed brain and with experiences and socialization, it is almost impossible. Maybe in the next generation where we have the current, because I've noticed that there's an increase in the number of men who are returning on the spectrum, who are beginning to question the privileges they have, right? So maybe when those men have kids and socialize their boys better, so instead of socializing their boys and keeping their boys within environments where those boys are socialized to move like this on that spectrum, if those boys are socialized to move backwards instead, maybe then we would have men who would be here. But as far as any man is in existence right now, there is no man who is going to be socialized and return here yet. Maybe in the next 50 to 100 years where a lot of work has been done, then there would be a man who can get back here. And that is why I usually do not give credit to any man, whether a feminist man or any kind of man. And that is why I say women get a divorce lawyer. When I say things like that, men get riled up. That's why I say women get a divorce lawyer, because they still have those traits and they have those privileges. So if a person even loves you, he should be comfortable with you protecting yourself from him, because he has the traits, he has the tendencies of being abusive. Just because he decides not to use the privilege that he has does not mean tomorrow he cannot decide to use his privileges. At the end of the day, it lies in his choice and his will. So whenever women tend to divorce men, no matter how nice a man is to you, at that point, he feels like you are an ungrateful person for even demanding the things you demand from him. So he will feel the need to pull out his privilege card on you. And those are some of the reasons why I say a man would never get to this point, as long as it is these men that we are seeing. Even if a child is 1 year old, and this child is going to be raised in the society we have today, he's never going to come back here. So even you as a mother who is a feminist, if you have a child, because the society socializes boys, women do not raise male children, right? Because no matter how hard you raise a boy child, you're trying to imbibe knowledge in him and emphasize the issue of equality. When he joins society, men join society, women do not join society. Society in itself is narcissistic. Men join society. Women who join society are women who have to fight to join society, right? So women who join society usually have narcissistic traits as well. But men, at a certain point, they join society. So society does most of the grooming of men. Society does most of the raising part of a boy. So even if you put in the work as a boy mom, your son is still going to be socialized by the society, right? Because the society will shame him not into refusing here. They will literally shame him. So everything around here and downwards is shameful as far as society is concerned. And then you're trying to tell that boy that this thing is not shameful, this is where he should be. But the society is telling this boy that here is shameful. So as a boy mom, you can only do your best, because I see a lot of boy moms having trouble with this concept, right? Their problem is, what about my son? What about my son? The truth is, at this level, you can only do your best and impute your best to see that the change happens within the society, so that it can rub off on your son. But you can only do your best, and your best can only keep your son somewhere around here, around this area, right? Your best can only keep your son here. Now, what happens to the society is what determines whether he will go further or he will go backward. Now, if you also socialize him the way the society will socialize him, that's where it makes it worse and easier for him to come here. So that is why you see, when you see a man who is narcissistic, they will say his mother is his enabler, because the society pushes them here. then if the mother is an enabler, she pushes him here faster, right? So I just hope this analogy is helpful. The video is becoming too long for my liking. But then just know that every man has narcissistic traits in him. So when you're dealing with men as a woman, be careful. It doesn't matter if he does not want to use his privileges, the privileges are still there, right? So just because a person who has a GUN tells you that he's not going to use the GUN does not mean the person does not have a loaded GUN. The person can still use it, right? So it is like your word against his word against his actions, and you don't have total control of what a person does. So it is best for you at any level you're dealing with men, whether in marriage, no matter how nice a person is, deal with that man with understanding, deal with him with caution, right? So even if you're married to the best man on earth, still deal with them with caution. That's why I emphasize women having their own money, women have knowing their own autonomy. That is how to deal with men with caution. Be financially independent, know that you have autonomy over yourself, and then build knowledge, then build community, so that at any point that this man changes card on you, you have money, you have community for support, you have knowledge on what to do. Get a lawyer if you're getting a divorce, or you're getting therapy, you're getting marriage counseling. If you have knowledge, you know which card to pull out that will be helpful for you. So I just hope this video is helpful. If you do enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I have a new video up on the channel. See you guys in my next video. Bye.